what do I start out with on day one, someone new to the sport? So I'll get specifics in a second, but just generally, I want to start out with whatever is going to get them fired up and excited about volleyball, because that's my number one job. On day one, my number one job is to make them come back for day two. And there's a great quote by John Kessel, never be somebody's last coach. Well, don't let the last day be day one. And if it's high school or something like that, and this kid is coming out to tryouts day one, let's not have, I think, these tryouts where day one we're not going to touch a volleyball, we're just going to run and condition. I would want my players to get excited about volleyball. And if it's 12-year-old volleyball, even more so. That's a player who could, be playing volleyball for the rest of their life and make their first day a little fun. Okay, so what does that mean? It means I want to start with a skill that they can enjoy and have a little success with, because those two things are very linked. Generally, we like doing what we're best at, and that's what gets us excited and gets us hooked in a sport. If you guys think about volleyball, the first time you fell in love with volleyball and you started enjoying it, your story is probably not, I couldn't pass the whole practice, and that's why I love volleyball, because I failed over and over again. Usually it's, the first time I went up and I hit a ball just right, or somebody hit a ball at me and I popped it up and I dug it and it felt really great. So usually when people start falling in love with a sport, it's some success that they had that they can remember. So specifically with little kids, serving is a big one, and in a context where they can have a little success. So a 9-year-old, that net is going to need to be low, and they're going to need to be close in order to get a serve over. And you asked about a standing float versus maybe a jump float or something like that. You got to judge that. I'm going to teach all of the skills with the same principles and the same mechanics, whether they're 9 or they're an Olympian. So that doesn't really matter that much, but it matters what the sort of context for success is. So if you have a small kid who you know is not going to get a serve over with any technique from the end line, don't have them serve from the end line. Serve where they can get it over sometimes, and they can start having a feeling of success, and also they can see their improvement, because going from 0 out of 10 to 0 out of 10 but less bad, I can't see that improvement. But if I can find a spot on the court where this young kid can serve and get 3 or 4 out of 10 over the net, and I work with them over practice, and by the end of the practice they can get 3 or 4 in a row over the net, now they see the progress. They believe in you as a coach because you just helped them, and they believe in themselves, and now they're excited about volleyball. Also, sometimes for young kids, passing is fun for them, because sometimes little kids, some of them just can't really serve it. Just this whole thing right here with the hand and the arm, it's very weak. And you have some very beginner players that you can put them at the 10-foot line and they might get one serve over. So sometimes they'll take a little more to passing because they can make their arms stronger and flatter, and the ball will go off their thumbs and the wrists a little bit because they can hit it a little harder that way. And so sometimes for them it's, can you pass to yourself 2-3 times in a row? So for really beginning players like that, just bumping it up and down to yourself, or trying to bump and set it to yourself, those can be really good. Or bump, set to myself and try to set it over, or pass to myself, pass it over the net. So sometimes the individual activities for a real beginner are really good. And then if I can maybe do a 2-touch, pass to my partner who sends it over, or we work for 3 touches, pass my partner, pass back, I pass it over, those kind of things. Because most kids, they've maybe seen volleyball before, so they know a little, we got to work for 3 touches or do things like that. But I want to find something where they have the basic elements of the game, but at a level they can have success. Now, if day one is a 16-year-old sophomore who is fairly tall and athletic and just has never played volleyball before, but they're a 6 foot tall sophomore who can jump a little bit, then the first practice they're going to be doing a lot of hitting, and they're going to hit off my toss, and I'm going to put that ball up there. So even if their approach isn't perfect, they can hit the ball and they can start getting excited about that. I'm not going to take a big, maybe athletic player who has no idea how to pass and make them pass the whole first practice. I want to get them hooked on volleyball. So I'm going to play to their strengths. I'm going to have them serve. Maybe I'm going to have them do some blocking and have hitters hit into their hands a lot, and they can feel that, and they can get one or two stuff blocks, because nothing feels better. I know that's what hooked me into volleyball. I really, my first time playing, I didn't know what I was doing. I was totally clueless. I was not really doing all that well, and I think just by pure luck, my hands were over the net, and somebody hit a ball, and it went straight down, and I was like, whoa, okay, now I can do this. And then, because that energy, that'll get you a whole 30 minutes of passing. If you can let them have just a little success on something like that, then that gives you the energy where, okay, all right, now I got to learn. I like this one thing. Now I got to learn this other thing. Okay, I can do that. But if you just start with this thing that they're not successful at, it's not going to be as good. They're not going to have as much excitement about it. And notice how with all of this, I'm not really talking about technique very much. It's not that important on day one. The most important thing for beginner players is to understand the flow of the game, pass, set, hit, to understand, forget about how I'm supposed to do it. They have to understand what they're supposed to do first. So beginning players, they need to just pay attention to the other side of the net and go after the ball to pass it. And if their technique isn't perfect, that's fine. You can fix the technique as you go. But you don't sit them down on day one and have them walk through this rigorous technical instruction, because it's not fun, and they won't be able to learn it yet because they're still at a much lower level of decision making. So day one, let them have some success and let them focus on these basic elements of the game and understanding what they're supposed to do, and as you go, start teaching them how they're supposed to do it.